It's 10 o'clock. I'm Mark Austin, live from Washington as Donald Trump's presidential candidacy is confirmed. We are going to stay in Milwaukee at the Republican National Convention because that man there you can see, JD Vance, named as Donald Trump's vice presidential pick, is about to speak. He has been named today by Donald Trump as his pick, 39-year-old Marine Corps veteran who is about to speak at the convention, about to be introduced at the convention. So let's listen in.
He served our nation in the United States Marine Corps. He is a graduate of The Ohio State University. He graduated summa cum laude from Yale Law School and is the author of the best-selling book Hillbilly Elegy. And he is a crusader for the people of the Ohio in the United States Senate. He has never forgotten the working people of our country, and he never will. He fought to bring investment to Middle America as a businessman and has fought to defend them every single day in the Senate. And this I know. He will faithfully stand by President Donald Trump's side as they win this election and change the course of our nation. They will change the course of our nation to the benefit of all American citizens and truly make our country great again. It is therefore my honor to nominate Ohio Senator JD Vance for the office of Vice President of the United States of America.
Delegates and alternates, pursuant to Rule 40A, a motion to nominate by acclamation is now in order. The chair now recognizes Delegate Bernie Moreno, Senate candidate from Ohio, for the purpose of making a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Bernie Moreno. I'm honored to be the Republican nominee for the U.S. Senate from the great state of Ohio. I know firsthand that my dear friend JD is a selfless and brilliant fighter. He is a patriot who loves America. He loves Ohio. He loves his family. He's a great father. He's a great man. And that's what we need in this nation today. To JD Vance, America First is not just a slogan. It's his North Star. He has followed it every moment of his life and career. He knows what it's like to live in poverty, forgotten by Washington politicians. He is dedicated to ensure that no American is ever forgotten again. Madam Chair, it is a great honor to move that JD Vance be nominated by acclamation by this Republican National Convention as its candidate for the office of Vice President of the United States of America.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the motion that Senator JD Vance be nominated by acclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye!
All those opposed signify by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. and alternates, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce that Senator JD Vance has the overwhelming support of this convention to be the next Vice President of the United States. The chair is pleased to make the following appointments to the Escort Committee for Senator JD Vance, his vice presidential nominee. Usha Vance, thank you, and God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Speaker Johnson.
What a great night. Pursuant to Rule 40D of the rules of the Republican Party, I formally declare President Donald J. Trump and JD Vance as the Republican nominees for President and Vice President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back RNC Chairman Michael Whatley.
What a great afternoon for the Republican Party, and what a great afternoon for America. It is now time to take the official convention photograph. If all of the delegates would please stand and turn to the center camera directly opposite the stage, we will take the official photograph.
Yeah. So there we have it. All now confirmed. Donald Trump is the presidential nominee, and by acclamation, you saw it there. JD Vance is the vice presidential nominee, and we're waiting, as I say, for JD Vance to speak. Doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. Let's speak then to Martha Kellner, who is in the National Convention Center there in Milwaukee. So, well, a huge 48 hours this for Donald Trump.
Yeah, the mood inside this Republican National Convention is buoyant. This is a party which believes they're in the ascendancy. They believe the political winds are with them heading into November's election. We now have confirmation of the two names on the Republican ticket. Of course, at the top, Donald Trump, and underneath him, his vice presidential pick, JD Vance, a 39-year-old relative political newcomer. He's only been in the Senate for a year and a half, but many people did have him earmarked as their front runner. Many people believe he will do a good job in debating Kamala Harris. We've just having word from Reuters news agency that Vice President Harris has accepted the invitation of a debate on American network television. She says she's eager to debate JD Vance. She may be able to pull him up on the fact that he's done a political 180 with regards to Donald Trump. He was once one of Donald Trump's fiercest critics, calling him noxious, reprehensible. He even called him at one point America's Hitler. It seems he's completely changed his mind on Donald Trump and is now one of his most powerful advocates. But that may be something that Kamala Harris is able to exploit in a debate against JD Vance.
Donald J. Trump, a leader with wisdom, strength.
Okay, Martha, thank you very much indeed, and we will rejoin the convention centre there as JD Vance takes to the stage. Well, for Donald Trump, he was only a matter of milliseconds away from losing his life. Tonight, he is 2 huge steps closer to regaining the presidency. He was officially adopted as the Republicans' candidate at a slick party jamboree halfway across the country from here. As you saw there in Wisconsin, that was no surprise, but what is the dismissal of perhaps the most dangerous criminal case against him over the mishandling of classified documents by a judge he appointed. And in a race defined by questions of age, Donald Trump tonight picked a man half his as his running mate, the Senator JD Vance. Our first report tonight is from our US correspondent, James Matthews.
It is my honor to nominate Donald J. Trump for the office of President of the United States.
It had been a big weekend in America politically. Big politics rolled into the Monday.
On behalf of the 91 New York delegates to the Republican National Convention, we proudly cast all 91 votes for President Donald J. Trump.
This was roll call. The Republicans' nomination of Donald Trump as their pick to be president.
And on behalf of the 125 delegates in the unbelievable state of Florida, we hereby nominate every single one of them for the greatest president that's ever lived, and that's Donald J. Trump.
The shocking moments in Butler, Pennsylvania, still in mind.
I think it shows the comparison between him and Biden, one being very weak and the other being very strong.
All the problems he's gone through in the last few months, it's unacceptable. It's un-American.
We need to figure out how to go through this together, and I think Trump is really going to help pave the way for those conversations.
Donald Trump traveled to Milwaukee low profile amidst high security. In the presidential race, he came here to announce his running mate.
Support the president, volunteer for him.
Ohio Senator JD Vance is the choice. He'll be vice president if Trump wins in November. Parts of Milwaukee had a ghost town feel as streets were sealed off for this convention. Standard procedure, stressed by recent events. Outside the city centre, these were scenes of protest against the party in residence. Political division hasn't gone away, even if it is under review.
I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate.
From the Oval Office, President Biden made a weekend appeal for unity.
Take a look at what happened.
Following the attempt on his life, the sentiment was echoed by Donald Trump. Of his planned speech to the convention, he told the Washington Examiner, "I basically had a speech that was an unbelievable rip-roarer. It was brutal, really good, really tough. I threw it out. Now we have a speech that is more unifying." Former British Prime Minister Liz Truss was in town for the convention. Some Republicans had blamed President Joe Biden for the attack on Donald Trump. What did she think? Do you think the words of Joe Biden have been a factor?
Well, I don't like some of the rhetoric around President Trump. I think it's
Joe
unfair.
Joe Biden's rhetoric.
Joe Biden and other rhetoric and some of the way the media have covered the assassination attempt has not been good at all. I don't like that.
On a day Donald Trump's work trip took him to Wisconsin, he received significant news from home in Florida. A judge has dismissed the criminal case against him of mishandling classified documents and concealing them at his home in Mar-a-Lago. The Florida decision is the latest in a string of results going Donald Trump's way. From the TV debate with Joe Biden through Supreme Court ruling to a delayed sentencing in New York. A look at the last month is the look of a candidate who can't lose.
A moment like that, and the defiance and the iconic image, and that over and over again, you're going to see it, I guarantee you, all throughout the convention. Hammering that turns those soft Trump supporters into hardcore Trump supporters overnight.
Donald Trump hasn't been yet to his party's convention, but he's due to appear soon. The day he wasn't meant to see is one he wouldn't want to miss. James Matthews, Sky News, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Well, the backdrop to tonight's events here in America is, of course, the near-fatal attack on Donald Trump just 2 nights ago. More evidence is emerging of the extent of the security failure, including how people in the crowd had already spotted the gunman on the roof.
This is a big crowd.
At 6:05 on Saturday, July the 13th, at a rally in Pennsylvania, ex-President Donald Trump took to the stage to greet supporters. Not long afterwards, a gunman aimed at Trump, the bullet brushing his ear. A spectator was killed, 2 others were injured, and the gunman was shot dead. The rally was taking place in Butler, in western Pennsylvania. The Butler Farm Show grounds are about 5 miles from downtown Butler. It's home to the Farm Show, an annual agricultural fair, and on Saturday, a Trump rally. This is the location of the stage where Trump was speaking. Secret Service members were located on two buildings behind the stage, and police cars were parked in the neighbouring construction company grounds. More than an hour before Trump arrives on stage, the two sniper units are surveying the area.
President Trump and his campaign have decided that places like these rural, locations are the best for his building up his base and to hold his rallies. So you're presenting the Secret Service with a really challenging mission.
Trump's speech starts and the sniper teams were seen still setting up on the roof of buildings behind Trump's stage. Around 4 minutes into his speech, several people in the crowd notice a man with a gun climbing onto the roof of one of the nearby buildings.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look, there he is right there.
Around 130 meters away from the stage. This is where the gunman was located, just 20 meters from the nearest police car. There was also a tree that seemed to obscure the nearest sniper's view of the gunman.
We have people that should not be here. On the roof.
2 minutes later, he starts to fire. In the seconds before the first shots are fired, both sniper units seem to get into position. The gunman then fired 3 initial gunshots. Another 5 followed in quick succession 3 seconds later. Audio analysis indicates that 2 more shots were fired by the Secret Service members. Multiple law enforcement agencies were involved in the event, which is a common procedure, but experts say it could have contributed to the security failings at this event in Butler. Well, there are thousands of places like Bethel Park across this country, a slice of American suburbia situated on the edge of a big city. For the past 36 hours, though, the area near to Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania has had the closest of attention, being the home of the attempted assassin of Donald Trump. Our US correspondent Mark Stone reports from there.
2 summers ago, he was the high school graduate,
Thomas Crooks.
Now, he's the man who tried to kill a president, to change the course of American history. His family home in Bethel Park is now a crime scene, just south of Pittsburgh. It's about 40 minutes' drive from the spot where he took the shots. The FBI are leading the investigation. More than a dozen guns were found in a search of the house, and it's been revealed that Crooks' father called the police after the shooting to say that he was worried that his son and gun were missing. They are piecing together his movements and his motive. Publicly, at least, they've revealed very little about either. Those who know him remember a bright, respectful, quiet man.
I want to say he was a loner more because he was quiet, but he was just bullied. He was bullied so much. This is where I live. The fact that it's coming out of here is just mind-boggling. Never would have thought that.
Investigators have, we're told, been unable to identify an ideology that could have inspired him. We know he's registered as a Republican and yet donated once to a left-leaning political group. He was certainly not overtly political. But beyond the unknowns, here is the bigger picture. This past weekend has jolted a nation already politically fractured, siloed. In a more stable environment, the shooting might prompt introspection, but it doesn't feel like it here. Signs of the fevered debate are all around. The election is just 3.5 months away. Ginny and Barry Warthier have lived in the area for 51 years. At first glance, their flag looks like it's for Trump, but it's not. Their message is a different one. There it is.
Jesus, 2024, make our country godly again.
It's a play.
It's different, yes. It's a prayer. And this morning, some woman even stopped and said, could I take a picture of your flag? We need this, people to see this. Yeah. So we do need to get back to where we were. We've never had rhetoric like this in my 75 years. Never, never.
You're worried?
Yeah, we are worried. I mean, we have great-grandchildren, grandchildren. What's our future like?
The fist is a mark of the man, defiance that will prompt different interpretations across the country. Donald Trump's brush with the bullet has reframed so much here. Mark Stone, Sky News in Pennsylvania.
So what a 48 hours for American politics and for Donald Trump. A whisker from assassination and now the confirmed candidate for the Republican Party. A candidate who will be very hard to stop. Now back to Anna in London.
Mark, thank you. For nearly a month, the family of the missing British teenager Jay Slater had hoped he might be found after he went missing on Tenerife. Today, that hope ended after the Spanish Civil Guard confirmed that members of a mountain rescue team had found a body. Well, Jay went missing after attending a music festival on Sunday, the 16th of June. He was staying at an apartment complex in Los Cristianos with a friend. But after the festival, he went to a different apartment in the Masca area. His last recorded location showed as Rural de Teño Park, a mountainous area popular with hikers. He called a friend on Monday morning to say he was lost with only 1% of phone battery left. He told her that he was walking back to his apartment after missing the bus. It would have been an 11-hour walk. A search was begun and nearly a month has now passed. And then, earlier today, Spanish rescue teams found human remains near Mesca, close to his last mobile connection. His possessions and clothes were found with the body. Our correspondent, JD Vance, who followed the search on the island, has this report.
It's been 29 agonizing days since Jay Slater went missing. And today came the worst news possible for a family who have been hoping and waiting. A body discovered in the search for the 19-year-old, who had been in Tenerife on his first holiday abroad. The remains found in a remote part of the island. These pictures from today show teams searching in that area, battling with the brutal landscape. A reminder of how hard it would have been for anyone to survive here. The news confirmed by a charity who had been supporting the family. It said, LBT Global is saddened to announce that a body found in Tenerife does look to be that of Jay Slater. It is understood the body was found close to the site of his mobile phone's last location. That location was in northwest Tenerife, where multiple emergency services combed an arid area. We saw the operation firsthand, spending days in the town of Masca. And so did Chris Pennington, who joined that search and knows how difficult the terrain is.
He was going down into a ravine, and once you start going down, it's almost impossible to get back up. Like I say, the heat exhausts you. He would have been in survival mode and just desperately trying to head for the coast. Unfortunately, he was completely unaware of what was ahead of him.
In a case shrouded by speculation, there were so many questions, both here and in his home of Oswaldtwistle, where they showed support for the teenager's family with blue ribbons outside of a local church. The vicar here has said they'll be holding Jay's loved ones in their thoughts and prayers at this time, while they'll be opening their doors to offer support to the local community. Friends, family, and that community have been left with the outcome they feared, one that will be difficult to take. JD Vance, Sky News, Oswaldtwistle in Lancashire.
The grandson of Muriel Mckay, who was kidnapped and murdered 55 years ago, has told Sky News he hopes a new police search could mean the end to the story. Officers are digging at a farm in Hertfordshire with new information on where she might be found from one of the men convicted of her killing. Our crime correspondent Martin Brunt has been at the forefront of covering this case, and he reports from Stocking Farm.
From early morning, police search teams headed through the farm to the excavation site. The squad of investigators included forensic analysts, archaeologists and specialist photographers. Their mission, to locate the remains of murder victim Muriel Mckay, kidnapped and vanished 55 years ago. She was mistaken for the wife of media mogul Rupert Murdoch.
So this is the lean-to that's coming down.
Muriel's grandson watched our footage of the operation.
I think it would be great to find her. You know, it would be great to have an end to the story and her remains, and to take them out of there and take them to where my mother and her siblings would prefer her to be.
The patch of land will be dug up over the next 5 days. A white line marks out a rough rectangle of the excavation area. The dig area is the site of an old manure heap that was there when Muriel was held for ransom at the farm in 1969. The white-roofed barn on the right is new and straddles the site. Inside the barn, police have begun digging up the floor. Brothers Nizamuddin and Arthur Hussain were convicted and jailed for the murder, but they always refused to say what happened to their victim. In January, Muriel's daughter Diane flew to Trinidad to meet Nizam Hussain.
Came all this way to see you.
Over old maps and photographs, Nizam finally confessed. He said Muriel died of a heart attack and he buried her under the manure heap behind the farmhouse.
2 feet from the hedge, that's where the body is.
Detectives and the landowner had to be persuaded that this new dig was worth doing. In return, the family have had to agree that if Muriel's remains aren't found this time, they won't ask to search the farm again. So far, the new search was going to plan. It's understood excavators had located an old ditch that's thought to be close to where the killer said he buried Muriel's body. Martin Brunt, Sky News in Hertfordshire.
The fears over the safety of high-profile public figures reached the royal family today. Queen Camilla was briefly ushered away during a visit to Jersey in what was later described as a false alarm. She's visiting the Channel Islands with the King, and it was confirmed that both will go much further afield to Australia and Samoa in the autumn. Our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills reports now from Jersey.
You can see the Queen looking relaxed, enjoying an ice cream. When her female close protection officer appears to whisper something to her, they're joined by another police officer and Camilla is taken away. Her automatic reaction to stop to get some flowers from the crowd, showing how as a royal couple they usually stop to chat. But security wanted to get them into a nearby hotel as soon as possible. We understand it was a member of the royal visit team while they were walking around down there that raised the concern, which then turned out to be a false alarm. But certainly it shows a heightened level of sensitivity after what happened in America. Just ahead of the visit, the palace had confirmed the King had written privately to Donald Trump via the American embassy. Not meant to be our main focus of the day, as a special sitting of Jersey's Parliament was being held outside for them, despite the rain.
It is particularly special to know that I am standing here today, the same spot where my late mother's proclamation was read, and that too, as you were saying, of King Charles II.
A trip that a few months ago would have looked unlikely.
It's, I think, right that we should pay homage to our King, who is, I think, an incredible man and deserves all our support.
I think everybody's hearts reached out to him, you know, following the public announcement of his diagnosis. You know, I think we just want to be here and support him and welcome him.
This two-day visit is no doubt a move in the right direction, along with confirmation of a tour to Australia and Samoa in October. But doctors are still keeping a close eye, as well as his security team, as ever, on a man who, even when it's like this, simply loves this side of the job. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News in Jersey.
Now, it's hardly the return England's players had hoped for. Instead of an open-top parade around central London and a trip to Downing Street and Buckingham Palace, a rainy landing at Stansted. For England's fans too, it was a case of the morning after the night before, as our sports correspondent Rob Harris reports.
The morning after, it hurt even more, leaving with no winners' medals. Dejected England players boarding the bus in Berlin before flying home, hours after digesting a second consecutive Euros final defeat. England were running on empty, always conceding first in knockout matches in Germany. Before conjuring comebacks, Cole Palmer was the latest super sub. But Spain was simply superior. The late winner was heartbreaking, but England hadn't created enough. Gareth Southgate as drained as his players, now with a decision to make.
It's hard to reflect so soon after a defeat like this. Look, I think the team have done the country proud. But at the moment, yeah, I have to say, in my head, none of that matters because we had an opportunity to win and we haven't been able to take it.
The wait goes on since '66 for a Three Lions trophy.
It's been absolutely fantastic under Gareth Southgate, and they did brilliantly well. One thing that's similar then and now is the team spirit, which has been, I think, has been remarkably brilliant under Southgate's leadership.
Reaching so far, so consistently in tournaments under Southgate was little consolation today. After 5 weeks in Germany, this is how the journey ends for England. Not with the trophy, but the same sinking feeling. That final step to glory proving the hardest to take. And fans flying back, dwelling on the what-ifs and what's next.
When we came from behind, actually, maybe luck's in our favour because we've done the last few games we've come from behind, but unfortunately not.
I think the next question now is whether or not Southgate sticks around or not. My personal opinion is I don't know if he can go any further.
Yes, it's not the most exciting football in the world, but he's got us to 2 finals and a semi-finals.
And this isn't the homecoming the squad wanted. No crowd and nothing to parade. But never stopping dreaming that one day it will be their day. Rob Harris, Sky News, Berlin.
Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview tonight, joined by Jack Elsom, the Sun's chief political correspondent, and Jessica Elgott, the Guardian's deputy political editor. Welcome back to both of you. Among the stories, we will be discussing this on the front of the eye. Starmer and Trump start building their new special relationship, the paper says. Back with that and plenty more after this.
Three, 2, 1.
We've got an election, haven't we?
We'll start with the rehearsals.
Let's do that again, one more time. You've got to be the best, but that is quite a lot of pressure.
It's just keeping up with everything.
You don't know what's going to happen day to day.
And being forcibly removed.
You've got to beat your journalistic competition. Every day matters.
That was a very tense interview, and I'm still slightly shaking.
You train hard and you fight easy, and I think that's what we're doing.
Well, this is Sky News. In just a moment, the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. First, though, our top stories. Donald Trump has been formally appointed as the Republican presidential nominee. He's chosen as his running mate the Senator JD Vance, who once compared the former president to Adolf Hitler. The security services are under the spotlight over what appears to have been glaring failures, which led to a gunman getting a clear shot of the former president at that rally in Pennsylvania on Saturday. And Spanish search teams have found remains thought to be that of the missing British teenager Jay Slater on Tenerife. The 19-year-old vanished after attending a music festival on Sunday, the 16th of June. Well, let's speak to Tom Parmenter, who's in Tenerife for us tonight. Tom.
Well, yes, Jay Slater's parents are still on the island along with other friends, and they are processing the outcome that they had all feared, that the remains that the authorities here believe strongly are that of Jay Slater that were found in this remote area, the northwestern corner of the island that the search had been focused on. His clothes and possessions were found as well, so everything points to that dreadful news for the family. His mum, Debbie, had, in the last day or so, talked about how they were bringing out a new search team from the Netherlands with specialist sniffer dogs, and they arrived just yesterday, and this discovery has come shortly afterwards. It is the outcome, of course, that did seem likely as the days went by in this search. Some 29 days this family have been searching for their 19-year-old, and it is the outcome that, of course, they had feared the most. We know, of course, that this is a case that's invited so much online commentary and conspiracy theorists, and that is something that the family have talked about in the last few days, about just how hurtful that has been for them, and it's how it's actually hindered the investigations out here on the island of Tenerife. The post-mortem will be conducted in the coming hours, and then they will have the definitive answers as to how Jay Slater, as we believe it is his body that was found, how indeed he died.
Tom, on Tenerife, thank you. Hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. Time then to see what's making the headlines with The Sun's chief political correspondent, Jack Elsom, and The Guardian's deputy political editor, Jessica Elgott. Welcome to both of you. So let's see what's on the front pages then. And the Financial Times highlighting the dismissal of the criminal case involving Trump's alleged hoarding of classified documents, a decision made by a judge who the former president himself appointed. Trump hits out at witch hunts despite pledge to unite the nation is The Guardian's headline, focusing specifically on Mr. Trump's comments about the legal cases. The Telegraph says Mr. Trump's running mate, JD Vance, is a firebrand and a hillbilly senator. The Times carries YouGov polling carried out last week, which shows Donald Trump leads Joe Biden in all 7 battleground states and says that gap is expected to widen since the assassination attempt. Meanwhile, the Eye reports on Sir Keir Starmer's personal call to Donald Trump following the shooting incident, as the Prime Minister looks to build his own special relationship with the Republican presidential nominee. The Metro reports that authorities in Spain say a body believed to be that of the missing British teenager Jay Slater has been found. Front of the Express, picture of a helicopter they say was used to reach an inaccessible ravine where the body of Jay Slater is believed to have been discovered. The Sun questions why it took police so long to find Jay. The Daily Mail leads on the story that health leaders want doctors to warn patients about the dangers of climate change. And in The Star, the late comedian Ken Dodd's widow says she still talks to him every day. A reminder, by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers for yourself while you listen to our guests. So let's go to Jack and Jessica. Welcome to both of you. Why don't we kick off, Jessica, with The Times. Trump races ahead in key states after shooting. You know, this was predictable, I guess, wasn't it? You know, such attention, sympathy for him as well after what he endured.
Yes, and I think that this is a continuation of a pattern that we've seen, which has Donald Trump ahead in many of these states already. It has, you know, that he certainly looks now like the favourite to take the presidency back in November, and especially because of what we've seen also with the discontent around Joe Biden and his, you know, the state of his health, the concerns amongst Democrats there. So, you know, especially with the shooting of Trump and the response that's garnered from a lot of Republicans, you know, some of it quite, you know, would seem quite over the top in British politics about God protecting Trump and all the rest of it. You know, it's a difficult place for the Democrats to be in, for sure.
Yes, I mean, galvanising support, not least at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. He has been confirmed himself tonight, and he's announced his running mate, JD Vance. And suggestion is because he's ahead, that's possibly why he's gone for somebody who's relatively new to the Senate. You know, only in the last couple of years joining for Ohio.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you look at his base, you know, Trump is a political rock star, JD Vance similarly. Obviously, these swing states in which Trump is now ahead, according to the Times, places like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. Biden won 6 of these 7 swing states last time. The fact they are now seeming to be tilting for Trump shows that this race is really slipping through Joe Biden's fingers. What we know about these states as well is that they have very heavy white working class populations, the sort of populations that carried Trump to the presidency last time in 2016. JD Vance essentially is almost a sort of a spokesman figurehead for these types of communities. He obviously wrote that book, He'll Be Elegy, which sort of rose into prominence a few years ago.
Made into a film, obviously.
Made into a film, exactly. And so I think that Trump is showing these people, I'm on your side. I've picked one of your own, basically, and you know, you can continue to back me going forward in November.
Yeah, I'm going to jump to the Financial Times, actually, which is the other big news today, is that the case that I went out to in Miami, actually, this idea that he hoarded state secrets at Mar-a-Lago in his Florida estate has been dropped because the special prosecutor, the Trump-appointed judge, decided had overstepped his legal powers, effectively, Jessica.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's a great boost for Trump to have this, one of his 4 legal battles that he's been involved in, dismissed at this point. You know, coming at least 2 days after this assassination attempt, it's exactly what he'd hoped would bolster him, and you know, you saw what how he responded to it coming after the assassination attempt. That he took that as the moment to say these witch hunts, as he's always called them, should stop against me. It's something he's always been prepared to blame on his political opponents.
Yes, that's how The Guardian, your paper, picks up on it. Trump hits out at witch hunts despite pledge to unite the nation. You know, in fact, both leaders are already straying back, aren't they? You know, Joe Biden saying that JD Vance is a clone of Trump in all forms. So already you start to see that unity message falling away and the temperature's beginning to rise again.
Yeah, and I think that after the assassination attempt, Trump had a lot of political capital and latitude to sort of come out and put his message across, because he was seen by especially a lot of his own base as a martyr. He originally was quite restrained, I think. You know, he didn't sort of, you know, cast aspersions at Biden and throw the finger around at Democrats for inciting this. He said that, you know, we need to come together and unite as a nation. But he seems to have crowbarred this current case that he's fighting, you know, into that message and saying that, you know, we need to unite as a nation and therefore throw out all these cases against me. And so the fact that he's sort of trying to use this assassination potentially now as a sort of vehicle to try and, you know, help his political campaign, I think it's going to be a sort of theme of things we're going to see going forward.
Well, the call has always been it's the weaponisation of the judiciary against me and the court system against me. In fact, for us in the UK, we look at the politicisation of the judiciary, this Trump-appointed judge who's pulled this case, and we sit there going, well, surely that makes it corruptible. I mean, it's something we're just not used to here.
Yeah, it's absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? And I think that with the politicisation of the judiciary in particular feels very alien to us, as you were just saying, and that extends, of course, to the Supreme Court, and many of them nominees by Donald Trump, and have done things, you know, like restricting access to abortion. That's the kind of, you know, you can effectively stand to be a judge on by taking a position on something like that, and that's, you know, it feels extraordinary to us.
There's stuff on both sides, though, isn't there? You know, if you're a Democrat, you're going to see see, what's her name, Aileen Cannon, the federal prosecutor in Florida. Oh, she's a Trump-appointed Republican, and therefore, you know, she's incredibly biased. And if you're a Republican Trump supporter, you're going to see Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, as a, you know, Department of Justice stooge who was essentially going after Trump. So there are both sides, aren't there? And you can sort of, you know, take as you pick. But that is the problem, isn't it,
That's
with a politicised judiciary? Exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
you call for unity, but it's still divisive, is the point. And the Starmer and Trump start building their new special relationship. Interesting, the reaction after the appointment of JD Vance as running mate. We're told by our NBC colleagues that he was only told 20 minutes before it was announced by Trump. You know, we'd heard Marco Rubio was not being picked a little earlier in the evening. They say it's the worst news possible for Ukraine. Better news for David Lammy, who's already got connections with...
Extraordinary system in the US in that no one can actually make Joe Biden go. No one can, you know... We've seen a lot of British Prime Ministers go over the past few years here, and effectively people can, you know, their cabinet, the whole cabinet can resign. They can't get enough MPs to be ministers. Graham Brady can make a quiet call and then they can go. But the only person that can decide whether Joe Biden goes is him. And I think that's what makes things very difficult. You can have the whole Democratic establishment calling for him to go, and he doesn't necessarily have to.
OK, Jessica, Jack, stay there. Lots more still to come in the next part of our programme, including do authorities in Spain have questions to answer over why it took them so long to find Jay Slater? Back in a moment.
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Los Angeles.
It's turning everybody into, you know, a crazy, violent drug addict.
How are you feeling?
I am angry. Legal abortion! It is an anti-woman agenda.
2 women say that you paid for their abortions. Are you a hypocrite, sir? Will your candidates win?
I hope so. I think they will. I think they're great candidates.
I gotta be realistic. My sister's dead.
More than 4 weeks on, there's no murder weapon and no suspect. Are you going to catch this killer?
We are doing everything we can.
Ghislaine Maxwell has pleaded not guilty to all 6 charges against her. Mum, how are you feeling today?
Jeffrey said, you answer to Ghislaine, you just don't cross her.
We're so excited.
Severe nightmares of these people coming in and just taking me in the middle of the night.
I've watched as whole towns were torn apart by natural disaster.
I'm alive and I'm thankful for that, but there are a lot of people who aren't.
It's not the winds people fear most here, it's the water. We take you to the heart of the stories which shape our world. Do you truly believe what you're saying?
A lot of cases that I know are reported from Ukrainian missiles themselves.
Ambassador, with respect, I think that's preposterous.
And I'm Sky News' arts and entertainment correspondent.
Well, welcome back. You are watching the press preview with me once again, Jack Elsom and Jessica Elgott. Welcome back to both of you. Now to the news that nobody wanted to hear. After nearly a month, it appears that a body has been found in the hunt for missing Jay Slater. The Metro leads with that. As you can see, a fall was the likely cause, quoting the police in Tenerife. The Sun asks, how did Jay Cops miss his body, talking about his mother's agony. But we've seen the sort of terrain, ravine-like terrain, brutal conditions, certainly, that it appears the body was found in. We're waiting for formal identification, but really shocking conditions to search.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that area reasonably well. I went on holiday there a few years ago, and the northern part of Tenerife is stunningly beautiful, but parts of it look like the surface of the moon. There are these huge ravines, craters. You know, the roads that you drive along are, you know, kind of just like hairpin turns, real hairpin turns, and you can see it's very easy to get lost when you're hiking. And when I heard, you know, that unfortunately the police hadn't managed to find him or search, it didn't surprise me at all, because it's so, you could easily fall into one of those cracks and plummet really far.
Yeah, it's obviously a horrible end, isn't it, to 4 weeks of this story, which has really dominated the press. And, you know, one of the unfortunate things about a unsolved case like this is that it sort of develops into a sort of a murder mystery by social media, in which you get a lot of armchair detectives coming out with all sorts of conspiracies. Now, it looks like, at the moment, actually, it was just an accident and he did just generally fall down. You know, it's incredibly unforgiving terrain. But the family today have come out and sort of said how hurtful all of these sort of internet conspiracies have been. And, you know, I think it's a lesson, isn't it? It's sort of the online sleuths that actually, you know, you don't know the whole story. And just because, you know, a body hasn't been found or something is unsolved doesn't mean that, you know, you have to jump to all sorts of conclusions. And so I think that's probably a lesson in this one.
Yes, and you've certainly got a quote from a family source saying it's the news they've been dreading.
Yeah.
The mum has lots of answers, so we'll wait and see if she gets them all.
Yeah.
Let's go on to, Jessica, your paper. The UK faces a defence threat from a deadly quartet. Britain and its allies are facing a deadly quartet consisting of China, Russia, Iran and North Korea, as we're waiting to hear news of, you know, a proper defence review announced by the government.
Yeah, so this is from George Robertson, who's a former NATO Secretary-General. He says that the UK had to be prepared to take on all four if necessary. So, you know, Western concerns that these group of four, they're not just individual threats now, he's saying that they are a group that are working together, potentially sharing arms, potentially sharing components and also military intelligence. And he says, you know, that they have to be able to confront that new reality of this alliance, potentially a sort of fragile alliance between these four.
And just before the weather, let's talk about the weather, shall we? Since Swithin's Day, which means the prediction is we're promised 40 days of, guess what, rain. Anyone who was out and about today knows that it was truly horrendous. Stithians, Cornwall, was among areas which got a soaking, as did Seaburn, Sunderland. There's the pictures. Never heard of Stithians myself, but there we are.
Do you know, I actually brought an umbrella today. I spent £10 on an umbrella in the middle of July at some shop in Westminster, and I just felt absolutely appalled with the state of the rain of them. I felt physically angry and sort of shaking with rage the fact that I spent money on an umbrella.
Yeah, exactly.
Starmer's Britain is what it is.
Jack and Jessica, thank you both very much indeed. Thank you. More from both of you in the 11. Here is the weather. Well, it's looking unsettled this week, I'm afraid to say, although mainly dry on Wednesday, hooray. But temperatures will be mostly around average. Wales and central England will have a wet start tomorrow, prolonged rain in the east. The far north looks murky and damp. Most other places will be fine, though. Just the odd shower in the south and northeast. Rain over central parts will largely clear across Lincolnshire and East Anglia through the morning, leaving central and eastern Britain with sunny spells and locally heavy showers, possibly torrential in the northeast. Western Britain, Northern Ireland and Ireland, meanwhile, look dry. Well, top stories coming up at Sky News at 11, getting the latest from the Republican National Convention, where tonight Donald Trump has been formally appointed as the presidential nominee and he's chosen JD Vance as his running mate.